Hey race fans, it's race day top 5 with me, Frank 5. The end of the West Coast swing in sunny California, home of Hollywood and all the superstars. And today a superstar who's been in the sport since 2004 made a landmark victory in any NASCAR series today. And he goes by the nickname Rowdy. Number 1, Kyle Busch, who is been the most dominant car since the beginning of the season, coming off a win last weekend at ISM Raceway. Today captured his 200th overall win in any three of NASCAR's top series at the Auto Club 405 Fontana Speedway, winning it over Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, and Ryan Blaney, the top 5. Kyle Busch from the get-go, the best car. I mean, nobody could literally pass him when he got into the lead. They had a tough time catching up to him. I mean, St. Patty's Day, and he was the green car, there was St. Patty's car. How fitting for Kyle Busch. I mean, like I said, dominant, won the first 2 stages, but in the 3rd stage, he almost choked himself when he was caught for speeding on the exit of pit road after the end of stage 2. And I thought, based on, how tough it is to pass in traffic, as good as his car has been, he's with some very strong race cars in traffic, he may not be able to get back up there. But a caution with about 35 laps to go with Bubba Wallace blowing a right front tire allowed Kyle Busch to catch up, and he hadn't pitted at the time because other cars had pitted and Kyle was on a different strategy praying for a caution. He got it, and he was able to stay in sync with the leaders and was able to get all those 4-force tires and ran down the 2 Penske cars who were side by side for the lead with about 25 laps to go, and took off and never looked back and just flat out dominated. I mean, give credit to Kyle Busch. He is one of the greatest race car drivers we have in the modern era right now. I mean, he is unbelievable at what he's been doing. 3 different race teams, 3 different series, 3 different crew chiefs. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. I mean, respect the man. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Kyle Busch, but I respect what he's doing in the sport. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can't compare these 200 wins to the 200 wins Richard Petty has. That's different. Petty won 200 wins in NASCAR's main series. This is combined of the Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks for Kyle. But it's unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish in his career. So kudos to that 18 team. Number 2, Brad Keselowski, who probably has been the best forward since the beginning of the season. In stage 3 at the beginning, when Kyle Busch had the penalty, Brad looked like he was going to run away with this thing. And he didn't. He ended up, beginning of the race, by the way, Keselowski got drop-kicked at the start because of this, start in the aero package and everything with the 550 horsepower. He got drop-kicked. But he fought his way back after making some major adjustments with his crew chief, Paul Wolfe, and that 2 car just turned into a contender. I mean, he was probably second best to Kyle. And when Kyle had his penalty, I thought, Brad's got this thing in the bag. But the late race caution obviously allowed Kyle to catch up and pass Brad. But overall, a great start for Brad Keselowski and this Penske team after the disappointment last weekend at ISM. Number 3, Joey Logano, our defending Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion, was racing with Keselowski late in the race and allowed Kyle Busch to catch up. And me, personally, I was pretty upset with these guys. I mean, I know you're teammates and you want to race each other, but when the best car who is rebounding from a penalty is right behind you, you need to work together to draft away with him with this horsepower reduction, not just run side by side and let the guy behind you catch up. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, Logano probably, admitted that, we used our tires too much at the end. You were really just racing your teammate for the lead at the wrong time. If you guys had drafted away from Kyle by about 3 seconds with 2 or 5 laps to go, you probably would have won anyways. But it is what it is, but a decent day for the Penske organization, regardless, with Brad second, obviously. Brad third, Logano second, and Brian Blaney in the 5th position. Number 4, Kurt Busch has pretty much been the best of the Chevys so far this season. He's the only Chevy driver to finish in top 5 in any races this season. He finished 6th today, but Kurt Busch's transition to Ganassi, remarkable. I mean, that one car was basically a top 15, top 20 car last year. And Kurt Busch has turned into a top 5, top 10 car this season. And he had some struggles today. Really, we're not happy with the balance at the beginning, but they kept making adjustments and they got to the top 5 towards the end. He could have probably had a chance to win this race. I mean, Kurt Busch is going to get the 1 car to victory circle soon. And basically, he's continuing the trend of being consistent every single season since he's composed himself, and with obviously now he's no longer with Stuart Haas, but Kurt Busch is still being Mr. Consistency other than his brother every single week with solid finishes. And number 5, Fontana, the restarts. They are fun to watch. There are 4 and 5 wide, literally for about 5 to 10 laps. It's unbelievable. And I know the reduction of the horsepower probably, people were criticizing about how it made the racing today. I thought the racing, restarts, they're fun to watch. As the race spread out, you saw a little bit of passing. I thought it was all right. I'd give this race probably a B+ for the performance today. The restarts, you want to go to seeing Fontana race or Michigan race, you want to see them 3 and 4 and 5 wide. They're the places for it. It's unbelievable. Those drivers really use their heads, especially in the restarts. Nobody screws up. Nobody makes a mistake. We had a little bit of mistake at the end of stage 1 in a late race restart, but it was basically from old tires from some people and getting into guys on the fresher tires. Finally, Chase Elliott, driver recap. Decent day. 11th place, it's all right. We really sucked on restarts. We really were not good, but as the long run progressed, we kept passing people and everything, and we got a stage point in stage 2, and I thought we were going to catch Austin Dillon, our pole sitter, who was actually under the weather all race. Now, I thought we were going to catch him for 10th place, but just lap cars kind of held us up, but not a bad day, not the best, but, still gained some points over the cut line. We'll go to Martinsville, where Chase has been strong in the past. Last year was kind of a little bit off, but I think next week we can figure it out, and hopefully when we go to Texas in about 2 weeks, our mile-and-a-half program continues after the performance we put in at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So, as the end of the West Coast swing, we go back to the Northeast section where we have Martinsville short track action. Get yourself a classic Martinsville hot dog, and you're going to see a lot of beating and banging all weekend. The big question is, can Clint Bowyer repeat as winner from last year? Can Joey Logano pull a late last lap pass like he did on Truex last year to get a victory? Will Kyle Busch continue his dominance? Will the Penske car step up? Will the Hendrick cars, who have an amazing record at this racetrack and how special it is to Mr. H, can they step up and find something? Only time will tell. So subscribe, like, congrats to Rowdy on a remarkable landmark win, and see y'all next week.